Everyone. Welcome. I did not expect to come on today, so it'd be interesting what's going to be happening or coming out. Um, there's a couple of things that came up. So with this video, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, I'll see what else is going to come, but is that, you know, particularly since the election, my guides have really been giving it to us straight, right? And in turn, I have been giving it to you straight. And it's not that they haven't in the past, it's that the energies are tougher now. So I'm having to really work harder to detach, work harder to where it seemed like it was just easier for some reason, that the information was just coming easier. It's more difficult now. And it was something they said that, you need to up your game. You need to like be in meditation. You need to really make sure your energy is clear because things is about to get crazy. And so, so I was like, okay. So I did. I'm a dutiful servant. I did. And the morning of the election, I got the messages that I timestamped them, right? I wrote them down. I got that ballots were, I got burning ballots and polling places, and I got all this just weird information. I got this kind of feeling of like something is wrong. And so I won't go too much into that because I don't want to get flag video or anything, but we know what happened, right? So, and apparently Trump said as much in Pennsylvania, I guess, but about Pennsylvania, but that came through and I shared it and I said, this is what I got. Because it happened that day. It was about 3:30 or 4 in the morning that day. And I also made a video, the window is closing, which was another difficult message to give, but I said it on my channel, I said it on Danny's channel, that I felt like information was coming in about these events, but nothing was being done about it. There was no movement around it. And that when I got the message, the window is closing, I knew there was an amount of time that could be used to correct this. But I just didn't feel like it was happening. So I gave that message. It was a difficult message, but that's what they gave me. It was difficult, I'm sure, for them to give me and for me to give you. Then they gave us the information about the energy around the 18th. First of all, the 2025 predictions in both videos, and then the information about the 18th, 19th, and 20th. The energy around these dates, no matter what was going on the outside, this was the energy of that. And so they were giving that to me as well. They're giving us the information, right? It's hard information because I don't like delivering this kind of information. It's hard to do, but they're also giving us, and this is what you do about it, or this is how you respond, or this is the practice you use. They're giving us the remedy as they give us the sickness or whatever, the the difficult, they're giving us, and this is what you do. So I feel like the other thing that I have been feeling too is that the reason you keep hearing like it's starting now, like the new earth is here, it's the reason that they're saying that and why that keeps coming through in different people's readings and what is because, especially in the US, you're going to start to see people either moving into fear or people moving into love and compassion. You're going to see this split, right? And I'm even seeing it in some of our community, which is fine. I'm glad they're here because then they can move into a different space if that's where they're stuck. It allows them to learn new practices or hear new things or whatever, so they can move into that practice if they would like to. But there's this fear that seems to be gripping so many people. And what my guides have said is what would be, well, first of all, they've said to protect our energy, right? Everybody protect your own energy and kind of be very mindful of your own world and the world that you're creating. They used that term, it was for the first time on one of the Sunday chats, either the last week or the week before, where they talked about us being kind of a world unto ourselves, that we ourselves are a world. We have this inner world, right? And then we have our outer world that we've created, it's our family and our home and our pets and our, it's this little world that we have, our workplace and our, but that's our little world. And they talked about really making sure and taking care of our little world so that it is very positive and very up and very and joyful and feels filled with compassion and with love and empathy and kindness and all of these things, peace, right? Things we want to see in the world, making our little world reflect that. But the disconnect for people seems to be like, how the sky is falling. How can we possibly be in love and compassion when this is happening? Or how can we, stay in peace when this is happening? And the fact of it is that these things are happening and we know about them, but they're not happening to you. There will be things that impact us personally. But until that happens, and maybe some things have impacted you personally, but because I don't know everybody's situation, but when things are not impacting you personally, when you just know about them, but you're not in it in any personal way, that's when you go inward, you move into self-care, self-love. We've talked about that is something that we as sensitive people, as empaths, as compassionate people need to learn. We already know how to be compassionate to others. We already know how to take care of others, how to help others, and all of these things. What we have more of a problem is guarding our energy and showing ourselves self-compassion and love. And how do you do that? You disconnect. You're not as immersed in the news 24/7, staying on top of something. And we all get pulled in at different times, right? I'm so careful. And yet, if something big kicks off, I'm right in front of the TV, right? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? That has to stop. And I'm not saying, when I say that has to stop, for me, it has to stop for me. And it has to stop if you want to maintain and protect your energy, because particularly corporate media, right? Their job is to get ratings. Their job is to keep you watching, and they're going to use fear and they're going to use anger, making you mad about stuff to keep coming back and keep tuning in. So be aware of that. Use alternative things that you can more easily turn away from. I'm doing local news because I feel like it's more relevant, and also I'm more able to do something, right? It's right in my neighborhood, right around the corner, right in the closest city, so that it gives me a place to put that energy to. If I do feel like I want to help or I want to contribute, it's right there. Read the paper, read essays or articles, or get a newsletter from a trusted source, but the idea that we have to be mired in it day in and day out is just not so. And this person is going to do crazy things. We know that. He's going to be crazy all day long, every day, doing every single crazy thing he can think of. Us watching it is not going to change that. And it's hard to say. That's hard to, but that's true. I used to be very, very afraid of flying, very afraid of flying. I do not have that fear anymore, but I used to be very, very afraid of flying when I was in my early 20s. And it was when I used to travel a lot with the band that I was in. And every time it was just a nightmare to get on the plane. I just hated it, whatever. But when I would be on the plane, I couldn't talk to anybody. I just had to like concentrate. There was something in me that felt that if I was distracted, the plane would fall out of the sky. That my fear somehow, or my awareness of it was keeping it up somehow, was not rational, was not normal, but it was what my fear was leading me to believe, to try to give me some control over what was happening. And that usually is what it is a fear of letting other people take control. So, but anyway, but I think sometimes with the news, that's how we feel, is that we can, if we see it, we can preempt it somehow or get in front of it somehow, but that isn't the way that it works. And that you don't have any control over this person or what they're going to do. And so what do you have control over? Yourself, your inner state. I didn't fully understand why I was being asked to teach these new earth classes and teach them and get it going so quickly, until everything started to unfold. And then I realized, oh, this is why, because this is exactly what it's teaching. Going inside, finding that inner space, finding that calm, getting centered, getting out of your head, noticing my thought loops, noticing I'm thinking fearful thoughts, um, noticing this, bringing awareness to it. Because what happens is we get lost in it and we think this is what's happening, this is what's going to happen, or what's going to happen next, or if he does this and I'm out in the cold and I'm not going to have. Those are real fears, and but it's not happening now, right? It's not happening now. If there is some fear you have that just will not leave you, think about your game plan. What would be my game plan if X? What would be my game plan if the? And try to put something in place that makes you feel comfortable, right? We have a plan for an earthquake. We have a plan for a fire. We've planned it out. And I feel like I can put it aside because that's all we can do, right? So having that plan in place, if there can be one, if everything crashed and everything, I lost everything, I'd go to live with my brother in Switzerland, or whatever. I mean, just have something that you can, or I would turn to my community and I'd ask them for help, whatever it is. But if you can put something like that in place, if you can't, if you're like, I don't know what I would do, then let that fear go. Because at that point, it's not doing anything for you. If fear and worry, when they're on that loop like that, you're just burning energy. And know this, when you are always finding the time to get centered, to take deep breaths, to connect in with your guides, to connect in with your team, to do things that are really mentally and emotionally healthy for you. When you do that, when something does kick off, you'll know what to do. You will have that inner wisdom that will come forward because you will have been honing that relationship with your higher self. Basically, your higher self. That's what it is, or your spirit, your soul. You will be connected in a way that will really, really help when something does kick off or when something does happen. You'll know what to do. You'll know who to call. You'll know where to go. Something that keeps coming back to me, and I always know that there's two things, and I think this is one of the reasons I think they wanted me to go. But anyway, a couple of things that have been coming to me, and I always know that it's my guides when, as I already told you, they talk to me in movies and TV and music. Those are the ways that it gives me instant context, and that's why they do it. Also, I have a giant, directory or information log of all that stuff in my memory bank. But when something like I haven't thought of in 30 years or since I saw it, or if it's that old and that like I'm totally disconnected from that, or it's a song that I wouldn't think of, I'd never think of. It's shit, but it keeps coming back. It keeps coming back. And when it keeps coming in and coming in, I know it's a message. I know I need to pay attention. I know it's not just an earworm. It's something else. So one of the things that came back to me was a Twilight Zone episode. And the episode is basically, you may recognize it. It's from the Rod Serling early episodes, and once again, I haven't thought about this in ages, but it's an episode, and I can't remember what it's called, but and I just looked it up, but I can't remember what it's called, but it's about this guy who's kind of he's a gambler, and he's a philanderer, and he robs stores, and just all around yucky character. He's mean, and he's whatever, and he gets shot by the police and killed. And he just kind of wakes up, and they're like, "Oh, welcome, Mr. So-and-so," and he starts getting all these beautiful women around him that just adore him, and he starts winning, from all the slot machines and all the card tables. He's just winning, winning, winning. When in life he never could win, he was always losing. And so he's like, "This is the greatest," and he realizes that he died, and so he's like, "Oh, well, this is heaven. I made it. Yeah, I don't know why I'm here, but I made it, and here I am." And so it goes on and on and on. The same thing, everything just going his way. And he's like, he talks to his guide, is there the whole time, and he says to his guide, "This isn't any fun. I just keep winning. There's no risk to it. There's no excitement. There's no, and nothing like that. So I'm bored." And he says, "Well, what would make it more exciting for you?" And he's like, "Well, if I could lose once in a while." And he's like, "Well, we could make arrangements for that." And he's like, "No, like chance, like luck, And he's like, we can try to work with you, and we could try to get the cops involved or whatever." He's like, "No, no, no." And finally he says, "I don't think I belong here. I think I need to go to the other place. I think I need to go to the other place. I don't belong here. I don't fit here." And he's like, "No, you fit here perfectly." And he's like, "No, I don't. I want to go to the other place." And he's like, what makes," and he's like, I don't belong in heaven." And he says, "What makes you think this is heaven?" Right? So, clearly he's in hell. But that episode kept coming back and coming back. I'm like, what is it? And then I heard the tagline at the end, because I had to look it up, because that's what I do. I research it like I'm researching, what is this? Why is this relevant for now? And what he says at the end is, where is it? Because the tagline always at the end, Rod Serling comes back in and says, a tale of blah, blah, blah. And he says, "A scared, angry little man got everything he ever wanted, and now he has to live with it for eternity." And I thought of Trump, and I thought, there is something about this that, it's kind of, and we've been told this, and I've heard it from different, like, not even psychics really, just different spiritual people and stuff, that either way, or different channelers, I guess, either way, we would be getting to the same place, which is a more compassionate and loving and cooperative society. Whether it was with Kamala, which would be a longer road, and I'll get to that in just a second, or Trump, which would be a much rougher but a shorter road. Part of the reason it was going to, because this was what I was asked my guides, why would it have been such a long road? And it was because of MAGA, because they're so convinced that this guy is great. He would never do us wrong. He'd never lie to us. He's not a criminal. He's not he's been done wrong. He's been railroaded. It would have persisted and persisted and persisted, and slowly, over time, it would dissipate, but it would take a long time. had the feeling, and it doesn't mean that other people will not be affected or hurt. It does not mean that. But I have felt that his people would be sort of, I don't say hurt the most, but but affected the most. And I feel like it has to do with the emotional, mental level. Right out of the gate, he wasn't even in yet. And he launched this scam coin that made his followers lose thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So many are so angry. They lost their savings. They, and the truth of the matter is we know this. He doesn't care about them. He cares about money. He cares about himself, everything to do with himself, how he looks, how people see him, how people say sir, sir to him, how how he can get what he wants in whatever moment he's in, right? That's what he cares about. That's it. That is it. There's nothing beyond that. And who he can use to get those things, right? That's what he cares about. And so they're going to learn who he really is, and they're going to learn it much more quickly. And there's a video that I did. It was like, spoiler alert, like we'll all be kind of working together. And that's one of the reasons, is because there will be things that tip over into, we all care about this. You're not going to do this. I think one of them might be Medicare and Social Security, because I don't see him getting his hands on those. I just don't. Or anybody getting their hands on those. And I think those might be two of the things that are bring everybody in. It's like, no. There are other things that people are split on. And also other things that people don't quite understand. How would this happen? Or how does this affect me? Or what? And those things will unfold in a way that is like, oh, I didn't see that coming, or I didn't know that was going to happen. But that's what I was getting. And so I felt like that insight with that Twilight Zone episode was giving us this is going to, because he's gotten what he wants, it doesn't mean it's going to turn out the way he thinks. Because I always felt it was not good, is not going to be good for him. The other thing that kept coming to me was a song. Now, and again, I love Paul McCartney. I love Paul McCartney. I love him in the Beatles, and I love him as a solo artist. I don't love Wings. I'll just be upfront about that. But it was a Wings song that kept coming back to me. And so if I were going to pick a Paul McCartney song that's just me, I would pick a Beatles song probably. But it kept coming back and kept coming back. So of course okay, I need to look up the lyrics because I don't remember them, and I don't know why this is in my head, but it's a message. It was the song With a Little Luck, the Wing song. And it says, I don't have my glasses. So I'm going to read you just parts of the lyrics that I feel are relevant. With a little luck, with little luck. Where is it? I gotta go to the lyrics. And I want to talk about luck as well, but okay. With a little luck, we can help it out. We can make this whole damn thing work out. With a little luck, we can lay it down. Can't you feel the town exploding? Which could be another message, but it might just be the impact that it would have. There's no end to what we can do together. There is no end. There is no end. The willow turns his back on the inclement weather. And if he can do it, we can do it, just me and you. And then it talks about with a little luck, with a little love, we can lay it down. We can, da, 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 da. And then I had to look up inclement weather because I didn't know what that was. I'm like, what is that? Inclement weather, conditions that are either unsafe or undesirable. So the willow turns his back, and that's exactly what they're telling us to do. Do not get caught up in everything that happens. Turn your back on it, not to ignore it, but to keep your powder dry, to 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 keep your energy clear and your world peaceful and calm and compassionate. So when something does happen that you can help in, you'll know what it is and you'll know what to do. We have an unfortunate, this time is fortunate and unfortunate at the same time. It's fortunate because we have so much information, right? It's fantastic. It's the reason that I can talk to you and I can talk to people all over the world, and we can have meetings and Zoom meetings and book clubs and whatever. But it's also unfortunate because we can see things that are happening all over the world, trouble, and the way that our media works, right? It's always looking at the negative, always looking at the bad, always looking at the heartache and the trouble and the worst stuff. And they'll show the images again and again and again. And what it will do to us, especially if you're an empath or if you're just a very compassionate person or you're very sensitive, what it does is it puts us in that wanting to do something when there's nothing we can do. And so it leaves us feeling really helpless and really hopeless and scared. And it leaves us with all of this yuck, right? Even though there's really nothing we can do. The Ukraine war is a good example, right? The early days of that war, it was wall to wall, just images, images, images. And of course, we need to know what's going on. It's good for us to know. But to see all of that devastation and all of those people and all of the babies, and it was so overwhelming. And yet, as an individual, there wasn't a whole lot we could do. You could send money, right? You could send prayers, you could send love and light. But as far as getting involved in a very humanitarian way, unless you were going to go there or fight in the war or you had the means to do that, there was very little you could do. And it leaves you feeling awful, awful. And so it's fortunate and unfortunate, right? And so what they're saying is with this, the danger is closer, like it's pulled into us, but it's not here all the time. And our communities all over the place, right? So things will be kicking off at different times. And even though you even may be in the same state, but your experience won't be the same as somebody else's. A good example is the fires, right? A few years ago, we had horrible fires up here. We almost had to evacuate. We had an earthquake, but Southern California, we were all in California, but they were not experiencing that. Right? So they sent money and they sent their firefighters and they sent help, but they weren't experiencing what we were experiencing. And there really wasn't a way for them to do that, right? We were experiencing it. They were there as support, and we had support all over the world. It was incredible. But it was money and it was well wishes and it was prayers and it was people just saying, I hope things get better. And all of that helps, but we're the ones going through it, right? And when we go through it, we deal with it. We're getting our stuff together and we're moving and doing things. I wouldn't, in that situation, there was no part of me that like, well, why aren't the people in Kentucky miserable like us? What the heck? Why aren't people in Washington, D.C. miserable like us? There was no part of me that thought that. I was just taking care of it, right? And in fact, I can remember thinking the exact opposite, that I hope people appreciate what they have. I hope people appreciate the fresh air. I hope people are outside and having fun because we can't go outside. You know what I mean? It was like that. And so while things are not kicking off in your area, building up that joy and that compassion and that love and that all the good things, right? Because when something kicks off in the world and it's miserable, we don't need more misery. We don't need more pity. We don't need that stuff. We need practical help if it's possible. But if it's not, we can pray, we can send love and light. But an effective thing to do is to keep our own energy clear so that we can still remain the light, right? If we all wash down into misery and fear, it's all misery and fear, right? Where's the light? Where's the light? Where do I go? We have to kind of be that, keep staying that beacon. And when it's our time to deal with stuff, we'll deal with it, right? And people will do what they can, right? But we're not going to expect somebody to come and live my misery, right? We have to be aware, responsible, focused in, keeping ourselves clear so that when something does kick off, we know what to do. And we have the energy to do it, right? Because if they start doing something with, I'm not saying they will, but in your area, if you're we're in a sanctuary state, right? So they may come here. I will know if I need to go and physically go somewhere and protest or whatever, I will know. I will absolutely know. Because until that point, I'm going to be meditating and I'm going to be focusing in on keeping my energy clear and focused. Keeping up my ability to be compassionate and loving and joyful and bringing that into the country, which needs it so much. We don't need more fear. We don't need that. So if you are falling into fear and falling into it regularly or falling into anger, because anger it's a movable energy, so it can be a catalyst, right? But if it's just with you all the time and it doesn't go anywhere, and that's really what we're talking about, is that churning, right? And it just wastes energy and it lowers your vibration so that when something kicks off, you're not going to be as clear. You're not going to hear it as well. You're not going to know. So being able to keep that, keep your energy clear and keep your mind as quiet as possible. Do nice things, do fun things, unless he's standing in your living room, you don't have to hear his voice. I haven't heard him or seen him in ages, and I don't intend to. And it's been great. It's been great. This is my little world, and he's not coming into it. I'm not going to let him in. I'm not going to. The only time he comes in is when I talk about him on these videos. But, you have to, and yet I still know what's going on. I know what's happening, but I'm reading, and maybe this is why too, I'm reading the despair people are falling into, wanting to not be here anymore. Really, really falling into pits of despair. And it's mostly out of what could happen. If they come for this is going to happen to me. If it hasn't happened yet, clear it out. Clear it out. It does not need to be anywhere near you. And then have faith that you will know what to do. You will know what to do. That's another thing that's coming up right now is faith. Faith, right? If you feel like, I don't have faith. I don't know what happens when we die. I don't know about this stuff. Really work on, and I've talked about this before, but I'll say it again because I feel prompted to say it again. work very hard on having your own experiences. It is a game changer. It's a game changer because you can listen to my experiences, to other people's experiences, basically testimonies, right? All day long. You can listen to these things all day long, and they're helpful to hear and they're wonderful to hear, but they aren't your experience. And the few times I've set out to have an experience, I had to work at it. My out of body experience, I had to work for 8 months. And it was kind of when I let go a little bit that it happened, that it finally happened. Because the universe does like to surprise you, not in a scary way, because they don't want, and that's the other thing is that trust your team to know when you're ready. If you're actively going, I want a message from, Archangel Michael. That is my goal. That is what I want. I want it to be clear and I want it to be loud because I want to know that Archangel Michael is with me. Right? You may work for weeks and weeks of meditation and saying, this is my intention, this is what I would like. And you're not going to get it until they feel you're ready. And then they will time it to what they feel like will be the most impactful or the best time. So in that, there has to be trust. Trust your team. Trust your team to know when you're ready, because in all those 8 months, I was absolutely sure, even from the first time that I sat down and said, I want to have an out-of-body experience, that's what I want. I thought, sure, I was ready. Even when I had it, I was not really ready. It blew me away. And I had to spend months integrating it and understanding it and trying to make it fit in what I thought was what the other side was like. It was nothing what I thought it was like. It was so physical. It was like me sitting here at this desk. It was so physical, more real than real, right? So the whole thing blew me away, right? Even the way that when my spirit went back to my body and my body was just like, it was like convulsing. It was just the weirdest experience. The whole thing was so weird. And I thought for sure in week 1 and week 2, had it happened then, I may have been like, I'm not doing this anymore. That was intense and crazy. I'm not doing this anymore. But they waited a very long period of time. And during that time, I would do like research and listen to other people's experiences. And so I really had a handle on what may happen. And even then, I really, wasn't quite ready, but I was persistent. And I think you need all of that. You need to be persistent, prepare yourself, trust your team, and then let them kind of surprise you. Because both times with my message, with my Jesus message, and with my out of body experience, I kind of had let it go a little bit. I kind of thought, well, it'll happen when it happens. They know what I want. It'll happen when it happens. But the Jesus message is like, I guess I'm not going to get a message. And then I did. So they like to kind of surprise you too. So just be aware of that as well. But if you need that right now, and now I also understand why my guides had me go and do kind of orb mediumship, because they're not hiding from us. They're not hiding from us at all. They don't want to interfere with our experience here. We have free will here. We have we have we've decided to do this because it is a very concentrated experience and completely different than the spirit realm. But make no mistake, this is just an experience. We are all passing through. The reason why so many old souls are here right now, and why this is going on the way that it is because the earth is going through a transformation. And it's interesting because I almost feel like how it happens isn't really the point. The point is that it happens. And that's why a lot of old souls are here to kind of usher it in and make sure that we kind of stay on track, right? Is how I'm giving you these messages right now, right? We kind of stay on track. But it's a lifting in vibration, right? And it's an opening for a new consciousness to come in a big way, because that new consciousness is here. It's here through Eckhart Tolle. It's here through Ram Dass. It's here through all the spiritual teachers and all the spiritual teachers in the past. It's here, but it's popping up everywhere right now. everybody is awakening. You see how many videos you see on awakening, 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 NDEs. I mean, it's exploding, right? It's explosion of this higher consciousness coming in. And all of these old souls are here with the young souls that come in and probably thought this is the last chance you're going to have. Like I said, that going out of business sale, right? The last chance you're going to have to feel these really, really low vibrations that are great teaching tools. They're really tough and really hard, but they are really good teaching tools. That's going away. So if you want to experience that, you might want to come now. And a lot of new souls jumped on board, is what I'm guessing happened, because it's the biggest show in town, right? So everybody wants to be a part of it in some way, even if they're just a spectator. A lot of people agreed to be helpers on the other side and usher this in. And this is just information that's coming in right now, you guys. I don't know this all for, whatever, but they're saying that a lot of people decided not to come, and they're guides, and they're, hanging out in the spirit realm to be assisting, or just to observe, to watch, and to gain knowledge from that experience of watching, of being an observer. We have an awful lot of help here right now, an awful lot of help. And then people that left during COVID. There are some people that wanted to leave at a certain point, and we're going to see that again, right? Like I said, he's going to be under his reign. There are going to be some exits, and there's going to be kind of it's like a mass exodus, but it's in smaller ways. It's not in one big way. And so this is going to be kind of people kind of trickling out to, again, play another part on the other side. It's like, if we get to this point and I'm here, I want to be here. And that's kind of the discussions that have gone on. And really, it is not for us to, it's for us here to, in this experience, to meet those situations with love, right? Compassion, love, support, all of those things, right? But it is not our place to judge why, especially now. It's like there's a big thing about judgment. Don't judge, because you don't know. You don't know if this is like a planned thing that was completely planned out, or if it's more wasn't so planned, but it's happening anyway, and that something else will be gained from it. We don't know. There's always that higher order, and there's always the individual spirit that is that has their own purpose and their own lessons and their own things they want to learn. And somebody said, I did a conversation with Helen, and it was a really fun conversation, so I encourage you to watch it. But someone had said something about that I feel like everything's God's doing everything, which is weird. I never say that ever. Ever. It's what I was going to say was the opposite of that, which is what I usually say, which is that we have free will. We have free will here. So there are there are several unknowns. There are possibilities, probabilities, which is a lot of readers, they read the probability. And then and since the election, we've learned there is a preferred probability, where it's like, this is the way we hope it goes. So there's a little bit of like, there's a little bit of extra energy in that, so sometimes we pick up the probability and the probability we would like. And so you're picking up on that as well. And that's where things can get a little hairy. But yeah, so that's what's going on. And it is if you're going to take one message away from this video, the main thing is to stay out of fear, because right now this is what's happening. We're kind of, and I don't mean splitting forever. It's not like that. It's just, it's consciousness. It's being kind of raised into this different consciousness where you're going to be able to have more clarity and see things more clearly, have a different perspective, right? And when you move into fear and in this mired and all this negative stuff and everything, you have a very different vantage point, right? So that's what they're talking about. And so really, really try to stay out of fear. And how do you do that? Notice your thoughts and tell yourself they're just thoughts. I'm just freaking myself out. Turn off the TV. Do not listen. And if this person upsets you, don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Don't look at him. Don't watch clips of him. Unless he's standing in your living room. Don't give him the time of day. Don't, yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, and luck. They just reminded me there, like luck. Luck with a little love, right? Luck. It says it goes back and forth with a little luck, with a little love. We can do this, whatever. But with a little, with when they talk about luck, I love this. I think it's a Maya Angelou quote. I'm not sure, but someone said that luck is when opportunity meets preparation, meets being prepared, right? That's what creates luck. And so that also tells me that there needs to be preparation here, right? And then when the opportunity to act or the opportunity to serve comes to us, we'll know it and we'll be prepared for it and we'll be ready for it, right? But if we have wasted all of this time getting caught up in everybody else's drama and everybody else's thing that's happening to them in a way that is, and this does not mean don't have compassion or don't help in some way if you can, but when we get dragged into it in a way that is depleting us and making us depressed and making us cry and making us, whatever, that is when it's no good for anybody. It's hurting. It's hurting the energy here. It's hurting your energy. And even if you're going to serve, that energy going into that service is not going to be the same as a calm, peaceful, compassionate, loving energy going into service, right? Rather than a scared, fearful, angry, worried energy going into service, right? It's two completely different things. So, okay, so I'm just seeing if there's anything else. So I hope that these messages help. I also want to give just a little aside. Be very kind to readers right now because, like I said, I've had to work twice as hard as I used to. The energies are different. And it could be that just things are very much sort of splitting in a different way, or there could be different timelines happening at the same time. I don't know, but it's different, and it requires a different kind of focus that you kind of have to get used to, and so be very kind to readers, and also it's a great opportunity for, especially when you have readers that you really resonate with, their personality and their delivery and stuff. When you watch them, use your own uh, intuitive abilities, because they're giving you their interpretation, and that's what you like, that's what you respond to. But you also have your own intuitive feelings. And several times when my sister and I get together when we read together, we would do family things or we'd read together, and she would throw cards and she would get, all this information out of it. And then I would go back to a card and say, well, what I'm getting from this card is da 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 da. Something that's aligned, but just slightly different, and then she'd be like, oh yeah, I see that. Da, da, da. We were uh, seeing things similar, but just slightly different. And that can make all the difference when you're reading in energies like this. And so start honing your own intuitive abilities. We all have them. We all do. We all do. So if you're watching a tarot reader that you really love and enjoy, look at the cards that they're getting, and ask yourself, what do I get from that card? Or I've got my deck here, let me look at that card and see what stands out to me. You may be able to get more information for yourself, or just work on your abilities, or get something different that turns out to be correct and the reader was not correct. This is it's No reader's perfect. I've said this a million times, you're not going to find a perfect reader. But the ones that I have on my channel, the ones that we know of, I know are good people, and I know are kind people, and I know are just trying to help. That's really is their motivation, is just to help. It's not to get rich. It's not to, I stay clear of people that I think are in it for the wrong reasons. Let's just put it that way. And I don't know, everybody's in, internal dialogue, but when I get a feeling of, I don't know, I tend to pull back. But these are good people just wanting to help and wanting to try to help in this really, really dense, difficult time. So just be kind. That's all, and be kind to me, and be kind to us. and I will continue to work double duty because I am bound and determined to get us all through this. Come hell or high water, we're getting through this. We're doing it together. And by the way, the woman that we talked about, that everybody wanted, they people wrote and said, I want to help this woman. She's back in her home. She got through her week out of her home, was safe with her kitties thanks to people just helping, just coming together as a community, right? This is a community, right? We help each other. We pray for each other. We support each other. We do what we can. I even had a woman write and say, I have a room. If she wants to come here, I will. So do not underestimate the power of community and the power of each other. Do not underestimate, and I would say this to DJT, do not underestimate the American people. Do not do it. Do not underestimate the kindness and compassion of the American people. Do not do it, right? Yeah, that's all I want to say. I didn't mean to end on an angry note. But I'm just saying, don't do it. And when I say we are here for each other, I mean it. I mean it. We are here for each other. Okay? I hope this video is helpful. I hope it is full of information. One other last thing, a lot of people ask me for things to, like other readers to watch, things to listen to. I had somebody ask me, what's something I can distract myself with? What is a really good podcast? You must remember this. It's a great podcast. It's all about old Hollywood, old movie stars, and it does biographies, and there's one all about monsters. So it does all the, like, Bela Lugosi and all the different fields. It has one about, Craig would want to know, it has one about Clara Bow. It has all of these old movie stars talking about old movies, Hollywood myths, and rumors and gossip and stuff. It's just a fun podcast, and it's fantastic, and it's great escapism. That was my COVID podcast that I would listen to all the time, especially to get to sleep, to get to sleep too, when I had those more anxious times. We were separated from Cassie. What else? Oh, and readers. Okay. So I have full disclosure, I don't watch readers really. Once in a while, I might catch a live, so I'll pop in, or I'll catch a video that's kind of like, what's that about? Or what's going on? But I just don't. Two that you might want to check out that are excellent and very soothing, calming presences for different reasons. One is Ellie, Dreams Down Under. Fantastic. She's very logical, almost to a maddening point, because she's so logical. And she's one of these people who's like, I read all of the newspapers and I watched all of the TV. She's not really affected she's very logical. And she can really compartmentalize really, really well. And so she's really good to watch if you tend to be more emotional and look at things emotionally. She's great for doing that. So I definitely recommend her. And then there's this new guy, Telltale Tarot. I've only caught a few. I'm getting chills right now. How weird. But I only have caught a few of his readings, but he's very good. But he has the cutest dog you have ever seen. The little, like, Shih Tzu. I think it's a Shih Tzu mix, or maybe just Shih Tzu. I'm not sure. I haven't heard what he said about his dog, but it is the cutest dog, and he is so cute with him, and it's just the most loving thing. And he's one of these people who's like, stay in your little world, build your little cocoon. It's okay. And I love that. I love that because I think sometimes people need permission to, and there's this thing about, you have to know what's going on over. No, you don't, especially when you can't do anything about it. What is the point? So keep abreast of the things you feel like you need to, and then build your world to represent you. What are you about? Are you about peace? Are you about love? Are you about compassion? Are you about kindness? Or build that world and live that way, and surround yourself with those things, and go into the world in that way, right? Bringing that to the world, right? But he's great, and he's also English, and he reminds me so much of Adam's relatives, and they have a different way of seeing things and looking at things, a much simpler way in a lot of ways. But you also have to understand too, England's been through it. They have had kings, literal kings that were tyrants and like killed their wives and stuff. And they have had, they have been through, they were an empire. They were rebel after, World War II. They have been through it. And so England has a very different view of the world. They just do. And sometimes it's really good to look through that prism of such an old country. It tells you all that you can get through and survive and come out better, right? It doesn't mean there won't be hard days ahead, but they really know how to roll with the punches. They really, really do. And so we can also take some lessons from that as well. But he is charming, and you will enjoy him. But that is Telltale Tarot, and Ellie, and Dreams Down Under. Okay, so those are my two recommendations. Like I said, I'm not really. I wish I had time to watch everybody and everything that pops up on my thing. Every once in a while I'll pop on a live stream or something just to see what's going on, but it's not often. I have to be honest about that. But those are two that have been recent, and I just think they're really good for the times we're in. So, okay, so and all the regulars, all the regulars. So I won't go into that, but thank you so much, everybody. Keep calm and carry on. Keep calm and carry on. All right, everyone, take care. Bye.